Okay, my name's Zakashi, guys, and in this video here we're going to be doing a top 10 unit tier list. As per usual, we do the normal tier list, which is just based on teams and all those other factors, but then we have the more dedicated tier list in the second half of the video. This tier list is going to be based off the new Legends Limited Super 17.
Nobody can beat me when I'm Super 17.
Everybody's enjoying him. A lot of people think he's top 1, maybe top 2 or top 3, but I'm going to be giving my opinion in this video. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy this video. Don't need to do too much talking. Let's get straight into this, man. As per usual, we got a shout out the boy DNGEE, DNGEE_YT. He's the one that makes the tier list, and if you want to make your own tier list, you can use his link in his Twitter bio. Go ahead and follow him. As you can see, he's almost on 3,500 followers, but the link is right here. You can see DBR tier list template. You can also join his Discord, subscribe to his YouTube channel. He's got Instagram. Make sure to check him out because everybody wouldn't be able to do this tier list if it wasn't for him making the tier list template. But yeah, gotta shout out the boy. Let's get into the video now. Right, so cool, we're getting into the tier list, and I've dragged up some people that I think are gonna be contenders for the top 10 list. So not everybody here will make it, but there'll be 10 people out of this list that will make it. So I think we're gonna just start off straight with the top 3. I feel like the top 3 is the biggest discussion, and most people's top 3 are quite similar. So I'm just gonna talk about it. We're gonna drag up Super 17. He's actually insane. And we're also gonna drag up Beast Gohan. He's insane. And we're also gonna drag up Bardock and Goku. Where are they? I cannot see them. There they are. So we got these 3 units, and I think I'm going to drag up UI as a second string, but I'll talk about him in a second right after. So we got these 4 units right here, right? And mainly, in my opinion anyways, I feel like these 3 here are the most valuable. UI has gone down simply because Super 17 is red, and Beast Gohan was already pressuring the hell out of UI. So that's already an issue in itself. The Beast Gohan stocks literally went through the roof because of UI. But Bardock and Goku are a very good team holder. So I'm going to talk about them one by one, and then I'm basically going to explain my order right after that. So with Super 17, I feel like he's the biggest offensive giant right now in the game. You could probably say that's Beast Gohan as well, but with Super 17's green card counter, it basically gives you a free reign on PvP. You can rise and rush for free, you can land an ultimate, you can start a combo. If you're able to land that green card and counter the enemy, pretty much nobody can stop you, become straight unstoppable. And that's pretty much what scared a lot of people in PvP when doing blast arts and whatnot. He's causing big problems, on top of the fact that he's on a pretty good team, which is getting super buffed right now, GT being his main teams. Even Androids is super good right now, so let's not ignore that team. And he's taking the spotlight from Ultra Vegeta Blue on Fusion Warriors, which is insane. He's a Fusion Warrior, yes. So he's taken over a lot of teams, I'm not going to lie. So for valid reason, he's entering the top 3. So that's my thoughts on Super 17. Naturally, he's going to be top 3, but where I'm going to place him, I'll get into that in a second. Next up, we got Beast Gohan. Beast Gohan, we already know he's a super big offensive giant. The main thing being his transformation, when he's able to remove your vanish off of his main if his gauge is full pre-transformation, but it's super easy to fill. He's also just very consistent in getting his vanish gauge up through just his unique ability or his blue cards, which is super annoying. 1v3, he's able to lock your rising rush for I believe 15 time accounts. He's immune to explosive greens 1 time post transformation. Just so many small bits and pieces here and there, but I think a major elephant we should talk about is the fact that he simply has blast armor. I think that changes a lot for a lot of units in ranked PvP, so naturally we gotta mention the blast armor factor for literally any unit if they have it. So that's Beast Gohan at number 2. Then on number 3, we got Bardock and Goku. Bardock and Goku, they are pretty much the best defensive unit in the game. At early doors, people really didn't think much of the Indestructible. I still don't, but I think what comes with it is what's good. So it takes away 2 of your cards, and you get locked in for a small amount of time. I think if those were better buffs, he'd be even number 1 unanimously. Depending on what comes with the Indestructible is what's really the difference. But let's actually talk about the pros of the Indestructible. Undeniably, it's basically just a revival, or at least an endurance, which is glorified, where you can't nullify it. You know, you have to get through it, and no matter what you do, whether you have endurance nullification, rising rush, you won't be able to break through the Indestructible. It's literally indestructible, so you have to get through that, and I think that's what's really made them valuable. But let's also talk about the biggest thing about them. They're literally 2 elements similar to Gold Frieza. We have blue and we have green. Goku, I believe, being blue, Bardock being green. So they're able to counter 2 types of elements. Blue counters reds, which are these 2 right here, and green counters blues, which is a lot of blues in the game, other Bardock and Gokus, the Kid GT Goku, etc, just for some examples. So naturally, Goku and Bardock are also going to be in the top conversation. Now let's talk about the order. For me, if I'm making the list, I'm going to do the order straight up. I got UI at 4, I got Beast at number 1, I got 17 at number 2, and I got Goku and Bardock at number 3. But I will straight up say that I think the top 3 is interchangeable based on how you want to play, but I also do think UI is a unanimous 4th option. Now with this list here, I really think it's the fact that these two work too well together, right? Even if you wanted to say 17 is better than Beast, right? I would argue that because Goku and Bardock meshes directly with Beast Gohan and they are both top 3 units, it's undeniable. It's undeniable. Now, if you're taking that argument and you want to say, oh, then why doesn't 17 go over Goku and Bardock? The reason I have 17 over Goku and Bardock is because of the green side. So type neutral on that department. I guess the blue is type advantage, obviously, but the green part is type neutral. So 17 can just ram through the same way Beast Gohan would. But what I also want to point out is the fact that Bardock and Goku, right? They are not the main fighting force on their team. A lot of people use them because they have indestructible. Could you imagine Bardock and Goku with no indestructible? Let's take it away for a second, obviously just for the conversation's sake. We're going to debate them with the indestructible. But if we take it away, does the kit really seem that much valuable to you? Would you put them as your main fighting force unit on your team? I'm sure most people would say no because there's other stronger fighting options, those being the likes of Beast Gohan, 17. Even UI is much more valuable on the front lines of your team. So I feel like Bardock and Goku, they're not a big offensive giant, even though they can do great offensive damage. It's not their key factor. So for their defenses, they make the top 3, but they can also do damage in addition, which is what makes them so valuable. The indestructible is what's keeping their value, and the 2 elements, of course. But in that same way, I feel like because they're not the biggest giant on their team, they go 1 down below 17. I really value the green card on 17. I think it's super good. But if you did put Bardock and Goku above 17, I'm not going to stress it. I'm not going to lie. They're just all that good. Now, with UI being number 4, he was literally like a top 1, top 2 unit before this update, but he's only number 4 because there's literally 2 reds in the top 3. They're going to be seen every single game. So I think that's enough to really explain why UI would be 4th. Anybody below is not going to really be red, and I really think UI is just better than them. He still is very skill based, because if you don't dodge certain hits, you're going to get nuked. Let's also point out that 17 here is kind of blast based, so the blast is going to not be able to get dodged by UI. You know how UI can dodge the strikes even if you're mid combo? He can't dodge the blast even if you're mid combo, so that allows 17 to pummel through. So naturally, I think UI should drop down below. So that's going to be my top 4. I think that's pretty much super self-explanatory. Well, not really, but I explained it well enough, so we're gonna leave it like that. Let's get down to the 5, 6, and 7 now. So for my 5, 6, and 7, I'm gonna be dragging up Pikkon, I'm going to be dragging up the Kid Goku, and I'm going to be dragging up the Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta. This is not in order yet. Now, 2 of these are GT. One of them's Fusion Warriors and Saiyans. They're all Saiyans also. One of them Son family. The order here could also be very interchangeable. I think it really depends on what team you value, what units you use. But for me, I'm going to put Pikkon and Gogeta up first. The reason I'm putting them up first is simply because they are a revival unit, and that is way more valuable, especially on one of the best teams in the game, if not the best team in the game. In my opinion, it's the best team in the game, Saiyans currently. I think because Pikkon and Gogeta are used as Saiyans as a real valuable piece with that revival layer, and they spawn a green card, which is super good for Bardock and Goku, it's really just super safe to put them above these 2. Whereas these 2, I guess Goku has endurance, but G4 doesn't have either. So for G4, I think he's naturally going to be below. But this guy here with 2 greens above, you might want to put him a step down. But naturally, I think this is the safest option. Revival layer, Super Gogeta is super good offensively. Pikkon can also do some damage, but obviously that's not his main thing. Main ability spawns a green. You have some disruption with destroying cards when he pops green cards. It's just super good overall. So Pikkon, I think he's safe at number 5. Pikkon, Super Gogeta. Let's get into number 6. Now, I think these 2 are the most interchangeable out of the 3. I'm going to keep Pikkon number 5, like I just said. But I think within these 2, it depends on what team you use. But I think most people really and truly would go G4. But from my experience, I really think this Kid Goku is way more valuable. The Solar Flare can come in clutch, even though I do know a lot of these big giants are immune, but the endurance is always safer. Also, having a blue to counter the top 2, in my opinion anyways, the reds, is super good. G4, I feel like he's good on the first cut, but he is good defensively overall. His ultimate kicks and he gets a second one. His green card destroys cards and he gets cover no, but I think you can get a lot more from this Kid Goku. His healing potential is through the roof. I already spoke about his endurance, the solar flare. He doesn't have blast armor unlike G4, so that could be a downer, but he can still do damage, and I think his defensive capabilities are higher. So for GT especially, but you could also use him on Sun Family Saiyans, I feel like his value is as high. It's really just a preference matter though, so I feel like these two could be interchangeable, but from my experience, I'm gonna put the Kid Goku over G4. So that's gonna be my next top 3, I guess, after the 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now we've got 3 more places. We got 8, 9, and 10, and I pretty much got the order locked in my head already. So I'm gonna place up LL17, I'm gonna put up Ultra Vegito Blue, and I'm gonna slide up Evoken. And that pretty much solidifies my top 10 overall. But let me explain this. So 17, his value has always been going up. I don't know what it is about 17, man. I do know what it is, but really and truly 17 is undefeatable, bro. You might as well just call him indestructible. Every single update, he's sliding up and down. He's not leaving the top 10. There's no reason to make him leave the top 10. If he's universe rep going up last year, he's going up. If it's androids going up, which it is right now with 17, he's going up. He just keeps moving up. He can't be stopped. He's so safe in the top 10 because of what he provides their team. It's insane. I would put him below like UVB, but because 17 is so good, I'm talking about the Super 17, the LL MVP 17 stays up too. So he's just a super safe option to use. I was running him on Androids, and that's me using him on Androids. You know he's doing a good job if I'm running him on Androids, man. That guy is a super safe option. So I've got him at number 8. Endurance, don't need to speak about it. Can't be cancelled in a lot of cases besides from like the cover change. His element is pretty good as well to counter the top 2 or top 3, I guess, reds in the game. So just gotta mention that for sake. I asked on Twitter, do people still think UVB is top 10? And overwhelmingly everybody said yes. Most people said, well, a lot of people said individually for sure, but maybe teams not. Now I'm gonna give my take on him and why I've placed him at number 9. I would place him at number 9 is because he's such a safe option. His individual kit is so overpowering that if you use them in the meta, it pretty much won't make a difference in the same way if you're using 17. But like I said at the start of the video, 17 has replaced Ultra Vegito Blue, but offense is way better than defenses. I've always stood on that ground, but UVB has a defensive team to come with him. Let's not act like he's not on Fusion Warriors, because that's what he is. He's being ran with Pycon and Gogeta, who's a top 5 unit, and G4 who's a top 7 unit. So if you didn't have Super 17, you could run UVB, but you don't need him. You really don't need him. But he's just such a good option individually. It's still safe to put him on the team, on the list, sorry. So I've got him at number 9, but I think he could also be interchangeable with Evoken. But really and truly, I feel like Evoken stocks are going down by the second. It's actually quite sad because they still really have the longest combos in the game. Maybe now, they're not even second to Super 17. They're literally the number 1 longest combos in the game. But for some reason, their damage output has gone down and universe rep stocks have just decreased. Maybe because UI is really at threat to Beast, or they don't have any new units besides from, like, I guess 17's been out for a whole year. UI is their newest unit, but he's not safe. So Evoken is really holding the team on their back, outside of 17 being the biggest support factor, but 17 might be better off just being used on Androids. So putting Evoken here is really just commemoration for what he's doing to hold up the team, but he can also be used on Saiyans, Sun Family, Vegeta Clan. Even though I wouldn't say he's a first round pick, he is still available for those teams, so naturally he's gonna have some good options, be a good option in PvP. So just for safety, UVB is just way better, and the team that he's on is better. Evoken has long combos, but the team overall is lackluster, and I feel like it's only one main team. You're not really choosing to run Evoken on Sun Family over like all Saiyans over any of the other options I've already mentioned, so I think they're just safe at 10. Even putting them at 10 might even be like wild, you know? I think we should get into some honorable mentions just for sake. So let me just write this down. I wasn't going to put honorable mentions, but since we're here, we might as well. So we have these guys that I think are the only honorable mentions available. There's just all these characters here, but I don't think any of these guys really fit the bill. I think if anybody is going to be these characters here. Now let's talk about Bulla and Pan. I feel like they're just a super good support unit. They work well on GT, but something that's very slept on is Hybrid Saiyans. People have been running this purple, red, red. Purple, red, red's super good, especially because there's like 3 greens, 4 in the top 10. So naturally, Bulla and Pan, I said Bulla and Pan, Bulla and Vegeta, they can have a good standing. I'm gonna put them in the honorable mentions by default. Their ultimate is super surprising, and the blue card as well. Bulla does no damage, then Vegeta comes out of nowhere and does damage, so we're gonna respect them a bit. People do be using Janemba as a counter to the Reds as well. As much as I like to downplay Janemba because he only has one ultimate off the counter, he would be so much better if he had multiple, similar to how this guy can just take away vanishes 24/7, you know. Why can't you give me an ultimate every time you do a gauge counter, you know? But this guy can take away your vanish every green. They really just shafted this ultra, and I think a lot of people are seeing that. But just because he's blue, I think just because he's blue and he can still be used and he's on movies, he can make our honorable mentions, but he's not making my top 10. And outside of that, consideration for Gammas, but that might be Glaze. Pan not making it. Cell, consideration because of androids, but Gamma's movies as well. If anything, I'd say Gamma's better option than Cell, simply because he has 2 teams over 1 team. So just putting it out there. Pan is super good on Hybrid Saiyans, Sun family as well, I'm not going to lie. Beast Gohan's favorite partner to this date. The blue beast was her partner, but now it's the red beast, and she's just super good for reasons I don't need to explain. And I think Orange Piccolo's value has just decreased as a green. I feel like he's just gotten weaker, kind of power crept. So for these guys, I guess I'm just gonna move them down. Orange Piccolo goes down, Pan goes down. I'm gonna move down Cell as well. I'm gonna move down Gammas, unfortunately, but I will respect Pan because I'm not going to lie, she is holding up Beast Gohan on a pedestal. People might not want to respect it. I'm also not putting Pan in my top 10, but if somebody did, I would be like, it's not ridiculous to say that. I don't think it's ridiculous to say that. So cool. Let's conclude this top 10 list. We got Beast Gohan number 1, we got Super 17 number 2, we got Bardock and Goku number 3, we got UI number 4, Python Gogeta number 5, Bomb Q number 6, G4 number 7, 17 number 8, UVB number 9, and Evilken number 10 with these 3 honorable mentions. Alright, so cool, we're in the second half of the video now, and we're recording for the more dedicated tier list. And you can see all the tiers. Make sure to read the tiers, they'll also be on the screen if you're watching this on YouTube. First off, we got the God tier section. It's pretty much any units that can carry a team, do serious 3v1s. All of these guys have 3v1 potential. So we got Beast Gohan, shouldn't need to be explained. Super 17's green cards have allowed that to happen, and his long combos because of his gauge. Bardock and Goku indestructible explosive greens allows them to do that. UVB vanish on death when he kills somebody, and he has his green card. And then Evilken, longest combo in the game, vanish recovery, cover no. All of these guys have cover no as well, so that's super insane. It should speak for itself. Just to put it out there, Ultra Instinct Goku is in the UI tier, which I'll explain in a bit, but he could also be a God tier contender. But really for him it's skill, which I'll just go into more detail in a bit. Let's go into the second tier. It's just support and disrupt factors. So these are characters that are not the main attackers on their team, but they're often paired directly with any of these God tier characters. So Pycon's being used with Beast, Super 17, Bardock and Goku, UVB, even Evilken if you want to run Saiyans. Bomb Q is being used with Super 17, but can be used on Sun family with the likes of Bardock and Goku. Beast 17, he's being used with Evilken, but can be used with Super 17. Pan, everybody here, if you use it right. You see where I'm going with this. I don't need to go into too much detail, but it makes a lot of sense. They have support factors to buff the team, or they disrupt. So they have like revival, endurance, they destroy cards, etc, break combos, so on and so forth. Now I usually have the Ultra Instinct tier 1 below the attack tier, but I've actually moved it up because I feel like these attackers are just second rate, and because there's so many God tier attackers, UI should be more valuable. But because it's a skill based thing and a lot of people don't seem to see that, even MUI, if you dodge the whole game, could be of insane value, assuming you're running 3 of these guys together. So you've got Ultra Instinct Goku, who's the best UI user in the game. Revival Sign literally has revival, and then you can choose between these 2. I personally would go UI Sign over here because he has the explosive green. But if you're dodging the whole game, you will win the game. You will win the game. You'll win on damage because the enemy can't do damage to you if you dodged everything. Your gauge runs out, you switch to the next one. Your gauge runs out, you switch to the next one. It's actually it's insane how annoying the team can be, but that's something people should really recognize in PvP, and I've proven it in many games. A lot of people do use the triple UI team. It's super toxic, and it really won't age as long as you don't get hit. It's a skill issue. Cool. Moving into Attack Z, like I said, they're just second rate, so they can be as good as the god tiers in some cases, but really and truly they're just an extra option if you don't have the god tiers or you don't want to use the support. So G4 is being used on all the Saiyan teams, but he's not a 3v1 type of guy. Janemba can potentially 3v1, but he's not going to be the head of any team right now, so he's been moved down. Ape, he can be used on a lot of the main teams as well. Saiyan's Vegeta clan. Gammas, they've hit androids and movies, so on and so forth. I don't need to explain for everybody, but it should make sense in itself. Next up, we got the bench tier. These are just for new players or players that do need help on units that they want to use on the team. The only character I'm missing is Omega Shenron because he's a Zenkai buffer for GT, specifically Super 17. So that's unfortunate. DNGEE hasn't put the image up. That's not his fault. That's my fault. I should have requested it. But all these characters here can be Zenkai buffers for a lot of the best teams in the game or have good Z abilities, however so. For example, Mai here is a HP buffer for Future, even though Future's not being used a lot. She's just an option that I want to put out there. So yeah. And then now down here we have what we had before, so we have support and disrupt and attack Z, but literally the same tiers but just way lower rates. So sometimes you might want to use some of these. For example, I've seen people use this 17 on GT and blast androids, but you're not really going to use that 17 as a first rate option when you have LL17, Super 17, the Gammas 1 and 2, etc, Cell. So I just want to mention that these are lower tiers. You might want to use them. Maybe some of them will be bench, I don't know. The same thing for the attack tier, just putting that out there. So yeah, that's pretty much the tier list for anybody that wants like a more dedicated tier list. Hopefully this is helpful, especially for new players, but of course do this every time so we have a more quality look at what the meta is looking like. But yeah, man, that's going to be the end of the video. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, man. Let me know what you guys think about the two tier lists that I've made, so the original top 10 and the more dedicated top 10. I think they're both pretty quality. This is a pretty good tier list in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think though in the comment section below. But I'm gonna leave the video like that, man. I appreciate you guys for watching. Press the subscribe button. We're on this grind to 100,000 subscribers. My name is Zakashi, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one, man.